Welcome to BetterPR. Wherever you are in your PR journey, you'll love exploring the stories from your peers about the many faces of public relations. BetterPR is brought to you by In Plain Sight Marketing, a public relations and marketing agency in Carson City, Nevada, Renown Regional Medical Center in Reno, and the Sierra Nevada chapter of the Public Relations Society of America. I'm your host, Kathy Taylor. Good morning. I am so excited to have here with me today Ken Jacobs, PCC, CPC, and the principal of Jacobs Consulting and Executive Coaching, which helps PR and related communications agencies, 1, grow and manage business, 2, manage that business for profit, 3, enhance client service, and 4, improve team performance, communications, and leadership. It does so via consulting and training. Ken helps the owners, leaders, and senior executives of those firms to be more inspired, and effective leaders. He does so via executive coaching. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you. I am excited to be here.
Well, I have just loved exploring your podcast and your website, and I really want to dive in right away. You do a lot of work with leadership, and I would love for you to define for us what leadership is.
Yeah, there are all kinds of definitions, and I'm going to break the rules of grammar by including the word leadership in my definition. I hope that's okay. But I think when one is using one's leadership energy and one's leadership influence to drive the best outcomes for the agency, for the clients, for your team members, for your peers, and if you have one, for your boss, then you are a leader. And the reason I believe that so much, so deeply, is that because then it proves that you can start to lead very early on in your career. And I will tell you that in my experience, when I was in the PR agency business 25 years before I went in this direction, I saw executive vice presidents who couldn't lead their way out of a paper bag. I was one of them from time to time, in full candor. And I knew senior account executives who were leaders, who had influence, who had people lined up outside her door for leadership council very early. So it clearly wasn't tied to title. So that, for me, started building that notion of leadership is not just the person on the top. And also I embraced that notion of leadership because I saw in the agency world, people were getting promoted. You have that arc of learner, practitioner, manager, and leader. And I saw many people being promoted from manager to leader, and it still happens, unfortunately, without proving they had the requisite leadership skills. So it's not, to me, something automatic. It's something you've got to build and hone.
I love that. And I kind of want to have you help us understand the difference between leadership and management.
Sure. A lot of people use those terms interchangeably. I absolutely, definitely do not. I don't think it helps anyone to use them interchangeably. I think it's much more helpful to separate them. So, when we think of management, it's processes and production schedules and budgets and calendars and, getting the train out of the station on time, so to speak. And it's executing with excellence. I would never, minimize management. But if you think about it, then you understand it's about things. Whereas leadership is always about people. It's about inspiration. It's about serving them so that, you only succeed when they succeed. It might include identifying the values of the organization, and it likely includes creating the vision for the organization. Where are we going to be? What comes after what comes next, and where are we going to be after that? And helping people, there's that word again, understand their roles in achieving the vision. So for me, they're quite different.
So how can I tell if I'm a leader or a manager?
Yeah. Well, you're probably going to go through the arc of learner practitioner, manager, leader. But I think, at its basic, it's, if you turn around, do you have people in the boat with you, so to speak, rowing in the same direction? Are they inspired? Do they, and leadership is a two-part choice. Your conscious decision to lead, that's a little easier, and their conscious decision to follow you. And, leadership can't be assumed. They can make, they can come in every day, do the work, check it off the list, but that's kind of transactional. And I think you're a leader or an effective leader when it's transformative, where they are absolutely choosing to follow you or not. I hope they do follow you, but that's how you know. And do you really feel you have followers, whether they report to you or not, who look to you for guidance, who look to you for courage, who trust you?
Wow, that's really powerful, thinking through my own last 2-3 years of managing and trying to lead through tough times. And as we emerge from those tough times, how can we maybe pull some people along, and help lift them up after
Sure.
we've been through
Yeah.
turbulent seas?
Yeah. So, it's easy to lead through easy times. I don't remember well, I think 2010 and 11, whatever, after we came back from the Great Recession, those
Mm-hmm.
were somewhat easier times. I've been talking about, how we've been leading through uncertain times. So I think, and I believe the uncertainty will continue. It's just going to change, but I don't see it going away anytime soon. So I think one of the best things you can do to lead through those times is to accept uncertainty and to accept that it is your role to dig deep and build trust and build followership despite it being uncertain, and accepting uncertainty and going beyond. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. It's going beyond that, way beyond that, and saying, when something happened, wow, I didn't expect that. What's the opportunity here? What's the opportunity for me as a leader, for my people, for my clients? And if you look back to 2.5 or whatever years ago, the big lockdown, some agencies were able to see the opportunity and they pivoted. They emphasized, certain parts of their practice areas. They emphasized within anyone they could serve. They served the industries that needed them and could pay. Right. If you look back to March or April or May 2020, there were a lot of industries that needed the PR world. Brick and mortar retail and travel and leisure, but they didn't have the money to pay. So like, why go
Mm-hmm.
after them? So I think the ability to pivot is so absolutely important. And when you get in that calm, centered, I expect uncertainty and I look for the opportunity in it, you bounce back, and then a lot more, a lot more. So I think that mindset is helpful. And speaking of mindset, I believe energy is contagious, it mirrors, and mindset is contagious. So you can think, oh my God, these are bad times. The recession might be coming. And that's what you'll believe, and so will your people. Your people will believe you. If you believe, well, it's a little uncertain, we've gotten through uncertainty before, we'll get through that uncertainty, you'll believe it, and so will your people. And if you believe, I don't know what's coming, we don't know what's coming, we will find the opportunity in all of it, your people will believe that as well. So that's your choice as a leader, your mindset.
Yeah, I mean, where we've been, I feel like business is accelerating, right? So you mentioned 2010 after the Great Recession, and then we went through this tremendous period of growth, and then we had COVID, and then we had coming out of COVID, and now we're heading into, we went through the Great Resignation or the Big Quit. Now there's the phenomenon of quiet quitting. There's every single article from Harvard Business Review tells you how how dangerous it is for employers. So how can employers help their employees, their team members, kind of navigate this rapidly changing environment that we find ourselves in? I think that the Great Resignation really opened up eyes for employers of, okay, we have got to figure this out and make this acceptable for people. But then we see the business world changing, and now it's, you've got to come back to the office. We might have layoffs. How can we help our team members navigate this? You talked a lot about seeing the opportunity in it, but there seems to be a lot of fear as well.
Yeah. Well, I always say fear is not a good business strategy. It's not a good business development strategy. It's not a good leadership strategy. So the first thing I say is, if you're experiencing fear as a leader, figure that out, work that out, walk through it, hire a coach. You can hire me because I have walked through my own fears and I learned a lot from that. And actually, it's funny. Here's this agency business where we're asking clients over the years for 50,000 or 100,000 or 75,000 or 500, whatever it is. So you would think we would have the most courageous people on earth in this industry. And I can tell you that's not the case. There's an amazing amount of fear and uncertainty out there. And one of the best things you can do as a leader, regardless, good times, bad times, work through your fear, because followers are attracted to courageous leaders. Courageous leaders are attractive. And I don't mean not in the pretty attractive sense, but in that, like, you remember that game when we were kids? It was like a piece of cardboard and it was Mr. Fuzzy, I think. And he was bald, and don't say anything. And he had nothing on the bottom. And then you'd move the magnet and the iron filings. You could create hair, eyebrows, and a beard. I don't know. I'm really dating myself now. Boomer time. And so just like those magnetic filings are attracted to the magnet, people are attracted to courageous leaders, and they're not attracted to fearful ones. So number one, connect with your courage, connect with your, MLK Jr. or your Mandela or Malala or Lincoln or Gandhi or Harriet Tubman. I mean, I'm a history nerd. Okay, no, big shock. Those are my courage heroes, but we all can have courage heroes. Embrace that, because all those leaders, they must have had fear, but they walked through their fears, and in doing so, they gave courage to their followers, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, 1 million followers, whatever it was. And they changed their worlds. All we have to do is PR, So I'm not minimizing how frightening it can be to lead an agency at any time. But number one, in these times, get in touch with your courage. I have 2 other thoughts to answer your question. The 2 E's. Emotional intelligence and empathy. And they're 2 phrases that have a lot in common. They both begin with E, but we bandy them about without really knowing what they are. It's really important to understand what true empathy is. It's a little more complex than you might think. I would encourage you and everybody listening or watching to Google either Daniel Goleman. He is the man when it comes to empathy, in my opinion, or the 3 types of empathy. You will learn so much about truly being empathetic. And then I encourage everyone, take the emotional intelligence assessment. Emotional Intelligence 2.0 is a great way to get it. And I have no relationship with the authors, let me say, other than they should be paying me, because I've recommending this book in every leadership training for years and to all my coaching clients. But even though I'm not an EI certified coach, but I believe in its power. And when you buy Emotional Intelligence 2.0, one of the authors is Sean Greaves, Greaves. Mr. Greaves, if you're out there, you probably should send me a check. No, I'm kidding. That's not true. And you get a little code in the back. You read a few chapters. You take the assessment. and it's really powerful. So while there are many skills most leaders should work on for these times, courage, emotional intelligence, empathy rise to the top for me.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So tell us a little bit about your podcast,
Yeah.
about your leadership podcast. How does that help aspiring leaders or tired leaders or anything in
Or fearful
between or
leaders,
fearful
right? Yeah, yeah. So it's called Taking the Lead, which has been my column in PRSA Strategies and Tactics uh, every quarter. And we realize the value of going on video for all kinds of reasons. So I get to interview these just magnificent leaders from the world of PR, many agency, many corporate, nonprofit, you name it. And the thing is, I guess they're known as smart PR people and comms people, but that's not why I'm attracted to them. I'm attracted to them because they are known as amazing, amazing leaders. And I'm sometimes shocked. We get CEOs of global firms to spend time with me. It's such a delight. They are lovely, smart, intelligent, tested leaders, and they willingly share all their knowledge with our viewers. So to me, it's just a joy. And I guess this shouldn't surprise me, but we have so much fun and we have a lot of laughs doing it. And these are pretty prominent people and they're just great. And they, again, willingly share such wisdom. And I like to believe we bring a lot of joy during it. So when you watch a segment, they're like 18 minutes, maybe 25 minutes. I think your viewers and listeners can get a lot from it. It's called Taking the Lead. It's on my website, and also I put it out on YouTube.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I think in these days where it's scary and uncertain and we feel like we've slain the dragon only to find out that there's another one around the corner, I think this is really helpful
Yeah,
information.
yeah, yeah. They're truly wonderful. And the other thing that surprised me about all this, the humility. I mean, these are not all, CEOs of global firms, CEO of North American firms, CEOs and leaders of smaller firms, but they're, really successful entrepreneurs, some of them. So, the whole gamut. The humility. I mean, the humility. And they tell me they're honored I've asked them to be on the podcast. I'm like, what is
That
so,
feels good.
yeah, it does. And some of them not only lead teams and lead individuals, many of them lead leaders, which is a whole different, they lead stars in their own right, right? And just the humility, and they talk about the leaders they've worked for who've inspired them. And I just get such a kick out of that. Um, and they're also great communicators, no surprise. I think there are a lot of links between leadership and communications PR. A lot of the same rules apply. So I think if you're really good at PR and comms, you have the potential to be a great leader. But it's not for everyone. Leadership is not for everyone, and that's okay.
You touched on this earlier, and I want to come back to it. Who can be a leader in an organization, and how can they show leadership? Let's say you've got someone who's new,
Yeah.
relatively new to the field. How can they show leadership, and how can it be perceived?
Yeah. So I think, again, think of that arc of learner, practitioner, manager, leader. I think early in the career, it's more about observation because you're so busy learning. You're learning the practice of PR, maybe, or maybe you've interned before and you're building on that. You're learning the culture of the agency or the organization. You're learning about your clients. There's a lot of learning going on. So at that point in the career, I would recommend observe who in the organization, regardless of title, have influence, are humble, serve others, go for the win-win-win, treat people, give truly constructive feedback, not constructive critique, constructive feedback. And who does it, who's able to communicate with that blend of diplomacy, directness, kindness, and honesty. So I think early in the career, it is more about observation. But I think, we talked about the word influence. This industry, PR, content, data, analytics, what have I missed, is changing so rapidly. So if you can keep on top of some of those things and share your knowledge willingly, that's a great way to start to become a leader and an influencer with your organization. And if I can give a hat tip, if any of you have heard me in other venues talk about leading young or leading, when you're a senior AE, when I was at Marina Mar a trillion years ago, Annie Heckenberger was a senior AE in the media department. She was such a leader because we didn't call it content then, but she brought us content and knowledge and trends. And here's what's going on out there. Things you wouldn't necessarily expect from a senior AE. And she's gone on to such a great career, much more social than PR. She actually headed social for the Democratic Convention out of Philadelphia many years ago. I want to say she's now, I hope I get her title right, like a senior creative director at Saatchi and Saatchi Wellness. Annie, I hope I got it right. On Twitter, she's Animal, Aniemal. I hope, no, like Animal. No, I'm getting it wrong. Just look up Annie Heckenberger on LinkedIn. But I just would watch. And at that point, I was an SVP and an EVP. And I'm like, wow, you can be a leader very young. And I'm going to give another tip of the hat to her, forgive me. But when I was first coming into social and I knew I needed to understand it, I was 50. I was not going to be that guy who didn't get it. She reverse mentored me and she really helped me understand the word of social. And if you want to learn something, write a course like Social 101. So I ended up writing a course on Social 101 and I ran it by her. And what a thrilling day it was when she said, you got it, and we shouldn't call it reverse mentoring, just because she was young. She'll always be younger than me. That's when we were born. And it was, she mentored me. She helped me understand it. That's leadership and it's a gift. So Annie,
oh, that's fantastic. We'll have to tag her.
Yes. Yeah,
Understanding our social 101.
Yes.
No, I really like that because when you're senior in the organization, you don't always have all the answers and you can learn something from everyone you speak with. And I loved what you said about kindness and respect and all of those things in being able to and we don't want to say reverse mentor, but to mentor others in the areas
who's open to it. Mentor anyone.
Right.
That's how you spread your influence in a very positive way. And something you just said made me think, anyone out there who's a practitioner or a manager in PR, or a, well, maybe none of them, but practitioner or manager, you are going to be following and building your professional knowledge of PR and comms and social and digital and data and analytics and what SEO and whatever. You've got to keep on top of it. It's changing at warp speed. 10 years ago, we were talking about it as changing at warp speed. Little did we know it was so slow 10 years ago compared to today. What did we know? If you really want to be a leader, this has got to be the beginning of a lifelong leadership learning journey. You must always be enhancing leadership. You must always be building your knowledge. New things are happening every day. I don't think it's at the warp speed of PR and communications, thank goodness, because I could never keep up with all of that. But we are learning new things. We're learning things about neuroscience and how, asking empowering questions affects the other person's brain in a way that just telling them doesn't. And that's such an amazing tool for leaders. We've learned, for example, that we used to say, oh, how do I motivate someone? It's like, you can't motivate someone. They motivate themselves, but you can inspire them. And that's a different approach. So leadership changes and evolves. And if you're going to be a leader, as long as you're a leader, you've got to stay on top of it. Well, you don't have to. I think you should want to stay on top of this. Reading, blogs, my podcast, if I can say that, taking the lead, other great sources of leadership.
You mentioned a term, spreading your influence, and you are spreading your influence through PRSA, January 18th. You have a workshop coming up. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so January 18th, mark your calendars, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. So our West Coast cousins can easily participate. And we're going to be talking about something we mentioned today. I've been talking about it quite a lot to PRSA chapters and other PR groups about the whole notion of leading through uncertainty. And will courage and EI and empathy come up? Well, you'll have to log on to find out.
That's fantastic. We'll be sure to include the link for everyone so they can sign up and register. Ken, give us your website and podcast one more time.
Yes, so it's Taking the Lead. You can find it on my website, www.jacobscom.com. That's JACOBSCOMM.com. And if you go to YouTube and you look up Jacobs Consulting and Executive Coaching, they're also there. So whatever, however you, and whenever we share, we share it on LinkedIn, we share it via Twitter, we share it via my Facebook business page. So, hopefully we're out there.
Wonderful. Ken Jacobs, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Better PR. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share with your colleagues and peers. To get show notes and listen to more episodes, visit our website at betterpr.libsyn.com. That's betterpr.libsyn.com. Thank you.